Jason's name lit up my phone on a Thursday afternoon, and I knew immediately something was off. We only talked about Milo, pickup times, school stuff, appointments. Anything else usually meant trouble. "Hey, everything okay with Milo?" I asked. He didn't even say hello. "Sydney, I need you to pause child support for 6 months." I actually laughed. Pause child support? What does that even mean? It means Lauren needs a new car. Hers is falling apart. And honestly, you don't need the money anyway. The way he said it, like Milo's child support was some subscription he could cancel, made my ears ring. I stared at the stack of bills on my counter. Daycare invoice, after-school program, field trip fees I'd just paid. I pictured Milo's worn-out sneakers I'd replaced last month, without asking Jason for help. "Just so I'm clear," I said, keeping my voice even, "you want to stop paying for your son for 6 months so your wife can get a new car." He sighed like I was being dramatic. "It's not that serious. I'll start paying again after. We're a family now, Sid. Things come up. You're doing fine. Good neighborhood, good school. It's not like you're struggling." Not struggling? I thought about my 2-bedroom apartment in East Sacramento, the second job I'd picked up doing remote bookkeeping at night, counting down to payday every month. I thought about Milo falling asleep on the couch while I worked late. "I don't think you understand what child support is," I said. "I understand," he cut in. "I'm not saying I'll never pay again, just 6 months. Lauren's car died on the freeway last week. We're trying to get something safe. You want Milo riding around in some death trap?" There it was, the guilt, dressed up like concern, turning his poor planning into my moral obligation. I stared at the calendar on my wall. Parent-teacher conference next Tuesday, class field trip in 2 weeks, pediatrician appointment I'd rescheduled twice. 6 months of child support to him was a car payment. To me, it was groceries, rent cushion, school lunches, co-pays, shoes, the birthday party he'd show up late to with a big gift, and bigger smile. "You sound quiet," Jason said. "So, is that a yes?" Part of me wanted to say no immediately, to remind him Milo wasn't an optional line item. But another part of me, the part tired of feeling like the only adult, felt something colder slide into place. If he truly believed his son was negotiable, maybe it was time he understood what that actually looked like. "Okay," I said slowly. "Let's talk about it at drop-off next week. I'm not deciding something this big over the phone." I could almost hear him smirk. "I knew you'd be reasonable. Thanks, Sid. You're a lifesaver." He hung up before I could answer. For a minute, I just sat there, phone still in my hand. Outside, late afternoon, light dipped behind the houses, throwing long shadows across the street. Milo was at Jason's in Roseville for his midweek overnight, probably playing video games and asking for one more snack. He had no idea his dad was trying to turn his life into a temporary discount. I opened the Notes app on my phone and typed, "If child support is paused for 6 months, custody will shift for 6 months as well." I stared at it, heart thudding. 6 months. 6 months of Jason waking up early to make breakfast. 6 months of rushing through Sacramento traffic for school drop-off. 6 months of remembering spirit days, spelling tests, dentist appointments, after-school pickup. 6 months of paying for everything he thought I didn't need help with. If he wanted a break from supporting his son financially, he could take a break from everything that came with me carrying the load alone. Before I tell you what happened next, where are you watching from right now? Drop your city and state in the comments. And if you've ever had someone try to pause their responsibility to a child, hit like and subscribe, because this story is just getting started. I closed the Notes app and grabbed a pen and paper. If I was going to do this, it had to be written, clear, and calm. No threats, no insults. Just his exact words reflected back at him. By the time Milo came home the next evening, I had a draft of the letter sitting on my kitchen table. While he told me about recess and the new game his friend brought to school, I watched his face, memorizing the way he looked when he felt safe, when he didn't know adults were debating how much his stability was worth. "Mom," he said, reaching for my hand, "can we go to the park on Saturday?" "Of course," I said, squeezing his fingers. "We'll go to the one with the big slides." Jason thought I didn't need the money. What he didn't understand was that it was never about the money. It was about the message. And next week, in a parking lot in Roseville, I was going to send him one he wouldn't forget. The Monday before drop-off, I sat at my kitchen table in Sacramento with the letter in front of me and read it out loud one more time. "Jason, you asked to pause child support for 6 months so Lauren can purchase a new car. You said I don't need the money anyway. I want to make sure we're on the same page about what that means. If you will not be contributing financially to Milo's needs for 6 months, then Milo will live with you full-time for the same 6-month period. During that time, you will handle all financial, educational, and medical responsibilities for him. This includes, but is not limited to, school drop-off and pickup in Roseville, after-school care, and any related costs, all food, clothing, school supplies, and extracurricular fees, all medical and dental appointments, co-pays, prescriptions, and emergencies. At the end of 6 months, we can revisit both child support and custody with a written schedule. If you believe 6 months of child support is manageable for me without assistance, then 6 months of full-time parenting will be manageable for you. Sydney." It wasn't poetic. It wasn't emotional. It was just accurate. His proposal flipped so he could feel the weight of what he'd tried to offload. I folded the paper, slid it into a plain white envelope, and sealed it. No label, no explanation, just consequences. Milo padded into the kitchen in his socks, hair still damp from his shower. "Is that for school, Mom?" "No, baby," I said, slipping the envelope into my purse. "This one's for your dad." He wrinkled his nose. "Is he in trouble?" A small, humorless laugh escaped me. "Let's just say he's about to get a homework assignment." That week, I moved through the days on autopilot. Work, dinner, homework, bath time, bedtime stories. Milo practiced his spelling words at the table, while I packed his overnight bag for Jason's house. 2 outfits, pajamas, his worn-out superhero hoodie he refused to give up, his soccer cleats for Saturday practice. "You're coming to my game, right?" he asked, chewing on the end of his pencil. "Of course," I said. I wouldn't miss it. Jason loved showing up to things like games, the visible parts of parenting. He'd stand on the sidelines in his sunglasses and team hoodie, clap when Milo scored, then disappear when it was time to wash the grass stains out or pay for the next season. On Thursday, I sent the usual text. Me. "Pick up at my place, 5:30? Jason, "Yeah, and we can talk then, right?" Me. "Yes." No emojis. No extra words. Friday afternoon, the sky over Sacramento was that pale blue that comes right before sunset, when the light hits the tops of the trees just right. Milo bounced down the stairs with his backpack. "Dad's here!" he shouted as he looked out the window. My heart thudded once, hard. I grabbed my purse, the envelope tucked safely inside, and walked out with him. Jason's SUV idled at the curb. I noticed, with a flicker of irony, that Lauren wasn't driving the death trap he'd described. Her car looked old but fine. No smoking hood, no missing doors. Just average. "Hey, buddy," Jason said, hopping out to ruffle Milo's hair. "Ready for the weekend?" "Yeah!" Milo grinned. "Mom's coming to my game." Jason glanced at me, then back at Milo. "We'll see, champ. Mom's busy." I swallowed the urge to correct him, one battle at a time. "Can we talk for a second?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. "Sure," he said. "What did you decide?" I reached into my purse and pulled out the envelope. His eyes lit up like he'd just gotten a bonus. "What's this? Some kind of agreement?" "In a way," I said. "Everything you asked for is in there." He took it with a satisfied little nod. "See? I knew you'd be reasonable." Before I tell you what he did when he opened that envelope, I need to know, would you have shut this down on the phone or done what I did and let him walk into his own trap? Tell me in the comments. Phone NO or parking lot lesson? I kissed Milo on the forehead, told him I loved him, and buckled him into the back seat. As Jason closed the door, he tapped the envelope against his palm. "You're not mad, right?" he asked. "We're just working together here." I met his eyes. "You're right," I said. "We are." Then I turned and walked back toward my front door, every step feeling heavier and lighter at the same time. I didn't look back, but I heard him get into the driver's seat, heard the rustle of paper as he tore the envelope open right there at the curb. Then his voice, louder than it needed to be. "Are you serious, Sydney?" I smiled to myself as I reached for my doorknob. The thing about people like Jason is that they think they're asking for something small. They think you'll always be there to carry what they drop. They never imagine what it feels like when, just once, you decide to set it right back in their hands. Friday afternoon arrived with that pale blue sky Sacramento gets right before sunset, when the light hits the tops of the trees just right and everything feels calm, even when it isn't. Milo bounced down the stairs with his backpack, sneakers half-tied. "Dad's here!" he shouted, looking out the window. My heart thudded once, hard. I grabbed my purse, the envelope tucked safely inside, and walked out with him. Jason's SUV idled at the curb. I noticed, with a flicker of irony, that Lauren wasn't driving the death trap he'd described. Her car sat in the driveway behind him, old, sure, but not smoking or falling apart, just average. "Hey, buddy," Jason said, hopping out to ruffle Milo's hair. "Ready for the weekend?" "Yeah," Milo grinned. "Mom's coming to my game tomorrow." Jason glanced at me, then back at Milo. "We'll see, champ. Mom's busy." I swallowed the urge to correct him, one battle at a time. "Can we talk for a second?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. "Sure," he said, hands in his pockets, confident. "So what did you decide?" I reached into my purse and pulled out the envelope. His eyes lit up like he'd just gotten a bonus check. "What's this? Some kind of agreement?" "In a way," I said. "Everything you asked for is in there." He took it with a satisfied little nod. "See? I knew you'd be reasonable. Thanks, Sid." I kissed Milo on the forehead, told him I loved him, and buckled him into the back seat. Jason closed the door and tapped the envelope against his palm. "You're not mad, right?" he asked. "We're just working together here." I met his eyes. "You're right, we are." Then I turned and walked back toward my front door, every step feeling heavier and lighter at the same time. I didn't look back, but I heard him get into the driver's seat. I heard the rustle of paper as he tore the envelope open right there at the curb. 5 seconds passed. Then 10. Then his voice, louder than it needed to be. "Are you serious, Sydney?" I reached for my doorknob and paused just for a second to let the satisfaction settle in my chest. The thing about people like Jason is they think they're asking for something small. They think you'll always be there to carry what they drop. They never imagine what it feels like when, just once, you decide to set it right back in their hands. I stepped inside and closed the door. My phone buzzed 30 seconds later. "Jason, this is ridiculous. You can't do this." "Jason, you're being petty." "Jason, I'll take this to court if I have to. I didn't reply. I set my phone face down on the counter, poured myself a glass of water, and sat at the kitchen table. Outside, I heard his SUV pull away from the curb, faster than usual. An hour later, my phone rang. Jason again. I let it go to voicemail. Then a text. "Sydney, come on, let's talk about this like adults." I stared at the screen. Like adults, the same man who'd just tried to pause his son for a car payment wanted to lecture me about maturity. I typed one response and hit send. "You asked for 6 months. I agreed." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again, then nothing. That night, I made Milo's favorite dinner, mac and cheese with cut-up hot dogs, even though he wasn't home. I cleaned the kitchen, folded laundry, and sat on the couch with a cup of tea, waiting for the next wave. It came at 9:47 p.m. "Jason, Lauren says this isn't fair to Milo." "Jason, you're using him as a weapon." "Jason, what kind of mother does this?" I read each message twice, then set the phone down again. He was spiraling, and I knew it. Good. By midnight, the text stopped. I went to bed feeling something I hadn't felt in years when it came to Jason, in control. The next morning, I woke up to 6 missed calls and a voicemail that was just heavy breathing and the sound of a door slamming. Comment petty or justified? What do you call this? And who's the real problem here? My ex, or the fact he thought our son was optional? Saturday morning, I drove to Roseville for Milo's soccer game. Jason was already on the sidelines when I arrived, arms crossed, jaw tight. Lauren stood a few feet away, hands shoved in her jacket pockets, looking anywhere but at me. When Milo spotted me, his whole face lit up. "Mom, you came!" "Of course I did, baby," I said, crouching down to hug him. "Go score me a goal." He ran back onto the field, and I stood near the bleachers, far enough from Jason that we wouldn't have to speak, close enough that Milo could see both of us. Jason didn't say a word to me during the game, but I felt his eyes on me the entire time. When it ended, Milo ran over, sweaty and smiling. "Did you see my goal?" "I saw it," I said, kissing the top of his head. "You were amazing." Jason walked over, hands still in his pockets. "Milo, say bye to your mom. We gotta get home." "Bye, Mom," Milo said, squeezing me one more time before running toward the car. Jason lingered for a second, voice low. "This isn't over." I smiled. "You're right. You still have 5 months and 3 weeks. His jaw clenched, but he didn't say another word. He just turned and walked away. Sunday night, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown. "Hi, Sydney. This is Lauren. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a full minute before typing back. "Me? About what?" "Lauren? About what Jason told me, and what he didn't." I sat down on the edge of my bed, heart picking up speed. "Me. I'm listening." 3 dots appeared. Then a longer message came through. "Lauren, he said you agreed to pause child support so we could get a car. He made it sound like you offered. He didn't tell me about the custody thing until yesterday. And he definitely didn't tell me he said you don't need the money anyway." I read it twice, then typed carefully. "Me. He said that to me on the phone. Word for word." The reply came fast. "Lauren, I didn't ask him to do this. I don't even need a new car that badly. My car runs fine. He does this. He makes decisions and then makes them sound like they were someone else's idea." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "Me. So you didn't know what he was really asking me?" Lauren. "No, and now Milo's here full-time and Jason's losing his mind. He didn't know about the after-school schedule. He forgot to pack Milo's lunch yesterday. He doesn't know the login for the school portal. This morning he asked me what time Milo's bedtime was. I closed my eyes. There it was, the invisible labor, suddenly visible. Me. That's what I deal with every single week. Lauren. I'm starting to see that. For a moment, neither of us typed. Then, another message came through. Lauren. I'm not trying to get in the middle. I just wanted you to know I didn't ask for this, and I'm sorry he said that to you. Me. Thank you for telling me. Lauren. He's really stressed. I don't think he realized how much you actually do. I almost laughed. Me. He's had 8 years to figure it out. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared a few times, like she wanted to say something but didn't know how. Finally, one last message came through. Lauren, for what it's worth, I think you're right to make him see it. I locked my phone and sat in the quiet of my apartment, feeling something shift. Lauren wasn't the enemy. She was just another person Jason had underestimated. Monday morning, I got a call from Milo's school. Miss Parker? This is the front office. We're calling because Milo wasn't picked up from after-school care on time today. His father was supposed to be here at 5:30, but it's now 6:15. Is there someone else we should call? My stomach dropped. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I grabbed my keys and drove to Roseville faster than I should have, heart pounding the entire way. When I walked into the school office, Milo was sitting in a chair with his backpack on his lap, looking small and confused. Mom? He said, standing up when he saw me. Where's Dad? I don't know, baby, I said, signing him out with shaking hands, but I'm here now. On the drive back to Sacramento, my phone rang. Jason. I answered on speaker. Where were you? I got stuck in a meeting, he said, voice tight. I texted the school. They called me, Jason. Milo was sitting there alone for 45 minutes. It was one time, Sydney. Don't act like... One time? I cut him off. It's been 4 days. 4 days, and you've already forgotten a lunch, missed a pickup, and asked your wife what his bedtime is. Silence. This is what I do, I said, voice steady now, every single week, and you thought I didn't need help. He didn't respond. You have 5 more months, I said. Figure it out. I hung up. In the rearview mirror, Milo was staring out the window, quiet. Am I going back to Dad's tonight? He asked. Not tonight, I said softly. Tonight you're staying with me. Is the wife innocent in your eyes, or still responsible for benefiting from the disrespect? Drop your take, innocent or complicit. Tuesday morning, I woke up to 17 missed texts from Jason. Most of them were sent between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., and they ranged from angry to desperate to something that almost looked like panic. Jason, you can't just take him back whenever you feel like it. Jason, we had a plan. Jason, this isn't fair to Milo. Jason, Lauren's asking why you're making this so difficult. Jason, I'm trying here, Sydney. I read through them all while drinking my coffee, then typed one reply. Me. Milo stays with me when you can't pick him up on time. That was always the rule. Nothing's changed, except now you're responsible for knowing the schedule. I hit send and put my phone on Do Not Disturb. That afternoon, while Milo was at school, I got a call from Jason's mom, Carol. We hadn't spoken in over a year, maybe longer. I almost didn't answer. Sydney, she said, voice sugary and concerned, I heard you're going through a tough time with Jason. I'm not going through anything, I said flatly. Jason made a request, and I agreed to it. Well, he said you're refusing to let Milo come home, and that's just... Carol, I interrupted, did Jason tell you why Milo's custody shifted? A pause. He said you two were working something out. He asked to stop paying child support for 6 months so Lauren could buy a car. I said fine. Milo can live with him full-time during that period. He agreed. Now he's upset because he didn't think I'd actually hold him to it. Silence on the other end. So if you're calling to guilt me into making this easier for him, I continued, you can save your breath. He's an adult. He made a choice. Now he gets to live with it. Sydney, I just think... Goodbye, Carol. I hung up, hands shaking. It wasn't anger anymore. It was exhaustion. Exhaustion from being the person everyone expected to bend. To accommodate. To make things easier for people who never returned the favor. By Thursday, the cracks in Jason's plan were starting to show in bigger ways. I got an email from Milo's teacher. Subject: Milo's homework in Spirit Week. Hi, Ms. Parker. I wanted to reach out because Milo hasn't turned in homework for the past 3 days. And he mentioned he didn't have his Decades Day costume ready for tomorrow. I know you and Mr. Reed share custody, so I wanted to make sure both of you were aware. Let me know if there's anything I can help with. Best, Ms. Ongian. I forwarded the email to Jason without comment. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. What is Decades Day? Jason asked, sounding genuinely confused. It's Spirit Week, I said. It was on the school calendar. Milo's supposed to dress up like he's from the 80s or 90s tomorrow. I didn't know about that. It was in the email from the principal 2 weeks ago. Did you check the parent portal? I don't even know what the parent portal is, Sydney. I closed my eyes and counted to 5. Jason, I sent you the login information 3 years ago. Well, I never used it because you always handled that stuff. Because you let me handle it, I said. Not because it wasn't your job, too. He sighed, loud and frustrated. Okay, fine. I'll figure out the costume thing. What about the homework? You'll have to ask Milo what's missing and help him finish it. Tonight? Yes, tonight. That's what homework means. He muttered something under his breath I didn't catch, then hung up. Friday afternoon, I picked Milo up from school for the weekend, my regular custody time. When he got in the car, he looked tired. How was Spirit Week? I asked. He shrugged. Dad forgot my costume, so I just wore regular clothes. It's fine. It wasn't fine. I could see it in the way he wouldn't look at me. Did you have fun at Dad's this week? I asked carefully. Another shrug. I guess. He was just busy a lot, and he kept asking Lauren stuff about me, like what I eat for breakfast and when I take my bath. It was weird. My chest tightened. Did you feel okay there? Milo looked out the window. I like being at your house better. I reached over and squeezed his hand. I like having you here too, baby. That night, after Milo went to bed, my phone buzzed. Jason, Lauren says I need to apologize. Jason, she thinks I didn't understand what you were trying to tell me. Jason, I still think you're being extreme, but I get it. It's harder than I thought. I stared at the messages, waiting for something that felt like actual accountability. It never came. Me, you have 5 months left. Jason, come on, Sid. You've made your point. Me, this isn't about making a point. This is about you understanding what it actually takes to raise him. You said I didn't need the money. Now prove you can do it without my help. 3 dots. Then nothing. Saturday morning, Milo and I went to the park like I promised. He ran toward the big slides, laughing, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Another text from Jason. Jason, we need to talk, seriously. I didn't reply. I just watched my son play, the sun warm on my shoulders, and thought about all the invisible weight I'd been carrying for 8 years. The scheduling, the remembering, the planning, the emotional labor no one saw because it was just expected. Jason thought 6 months would be manageable because he'd never done it. But now he was starting to understand. Parents in the comments, what's the number one invisible job of parenting people don't respect until they're forced to do it? And tell me, should I have rescued him for our son's sake, or let him feel the full weight? By the second week, Jason stopped texting me directly. Instead, I started hearing things from other people. Milo's soccer coach pulled me aside after practice. "Hey, Sydney, just wanted to check in. Jason mentioned you've been going through something." I blinked. Going through something? He said you needed space, so Milo's staying with him for a while. I just wanted to make sure everything's okay. My stomach turned. Everything's fine. Jason and I adjusted custody temporarily. That's all. The coach nodded slowly, clearly unsure what to believe. Okay, just checking. I smiled, but my jaw was tight. Jason was spinning this, making me look unstable, making himself look like the hero stepping up while I went through something. 2 days later, I ran into a mutual friend at the grocery store in Sacramento, someone Jason and I both knew from back when we were still together. "Sid," she said, pulling me into a hug, "I heard about everything. I'm so sorry." "Sorry about what?" She hesitated. "Jason said you've been struggling, that you asked him to take Milo full-time because you needed a break." I felt heat rise up my neck. That's not what happened. "Oh," she looked uncomfortable. "He made it sound like you were overwhelmed and he was trying to support you." I forced a smile. "Jason asked to stop paying child support so his wife could buy a car. I said fine. If he's not paying, then Milo lives with him. That's the truth." Her eyes widened. "Oh my God, he didn't say that at all." "I'm sure he didn't." She touched my arm. "For what it's worth, I believe you." "Thanks," I said, and walked away before I said something I'd regret. That night, I sat at my kitchen table and pulled up my text thread with Jason. I scrolled back to the day he called me, the day he made his request. Then I took screenshots, his exact words, my exact response, the timeline of everything that followed. If he was going to rewrite history, I was going to make sure the truth had receipts. I didn't post them. I didn't send them to anyone. I just saved them in a folder labeled Custody Jason and waited. The smear attempt came to a head on a Thursday. Carol called again. This time her tone wasn't sweet. "Sydney, Jason told me you've been keeping Milo from him." "That's a lie," I said evenly. "He said you won't let him see his own son." "Carol, Milo is with Jason 4 days a week right now, more than he's ever had him before. If Jason told you otherwise, he lied." "Why would he lie?" "Because he's trying to make me look like the bad guy so he doesn't have to admit he asked to stop supporting his son for a car." She went quiet. "If you don't believe me," I continued, "I have the texts. I have the screenshots. I have the school emails showing he forgot pickups, missed homework deadlines, and didn't know what Spirit Week was. I have all of it." "You're keeping records?" "I've always kept records, Carol. That's what responsible parents do." She hung up without another word. 10 minutes later, Jason called. "You told my mom I'm a bad father?" "No," I said. "I told her the truth. You asked to pause child support. I said okay. Custody shifts too. You agreed. Now you're mad because it's harder than you thought. So you're telling people I'm unstable and keeping Milo from you. That's called a smear campaign, Jason." "I'm not." "Yes, you are," I interrupted. "And if you keep doing it, I'll post every single text you sent me, every request, every excuse, every time you forgot to pick him up or didn't know his schedule. I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what happened." Silence. "You wouldn't," he finally said. "Try me." I hung up. My hands were shaking, but my voice had been steady. For the first time, I wasn't just reacting. I was setting a boundary and backing it up. That weekend, I got a text from Lauren. Lauren, I'm sorry. I didn't know he was saying those things. Me, did you ask him to stop? Lauren, yes. I told him if he doesn't, I'm out. I didn't sign up to be part of this. Me, good. Lauren, for what it's worth, I think you're handling this better than most people would. I didn't reply. I just stared at her message and felt something close to vindication. If someone tried to smear you after they were wrong, would you go quiet or go public with receipts? And tell me, should I have taken him to court immediately, or was this the smarter revenge? 3 weeks into the 6-month agreement, Jason cracked. It was a Tuesday night, nearly 10 p.m. when my phone rang. I almost didn't answer. I was already in bed, halfway through an episode of something I wasn't really watching, but something made me pick up. Sydney. His voice sounded hollow, tired in a way I hadn't heard before. What's wrong? I asked, sitting up. I can't do this. I waited. I can't keep doing this, he said again, quieter this time. Lauren's stressed. Milo keeps asking when he's going back to your place. I missed a work deadline yesterday because I had to leave early for pickup. I'm drowning here. I didn't say anything. I just let the silence sit. I thought it would be different, he continued. I thought I could handle it. But you make it look so easy, and it's not. It's not easy at all. No, I said softly, it's not. I don't know how you do this every week. I do it because I have to, because he's my son, because there's no one else. He let out a long breath. I'm sorry. I closed my eyes. For what, specifically? For saying you didn't need the money. For acting like child support was optional. For not seeing how much you actually do. It wasn't everything I wanted to hear, but it was something. Okay, I said. Can we go back to the regular schedule? He asked. Please? Not yet. Sydney, you asked for 6 months, Jason. We're 3 weeks in. You don't get to quit the second it gets hard. I'm not quitting. I'm asking for help. And I'm asking you to sit with this a little longer. Because this is what I've been doing alone for 8 years. And you need to feel it. He was quiet for a long time. Then, finally, how much longer? 2 more weeks. Then we'll go back to the regular schedule. But the child support? That resumes now, in full. And it's never up for negotiation again. Okay. And you pay for the after-school care you missed last week. And the Spirit Week costume I had to order because you forgot. And the copay for the dentist appointment you didn't know about. Okay, he said again, voice tight. And Jason? Yeah? If you ever try to paint me as the unstable one again, if you ever tell people I'm going through something, or that I dumped Milo on you, I'll make sure everyone knows what you really asked me to do. Silence. Do we have an understanding? Yes. Good. I hung up and sat in the dark of my bedroom, heart pounding. It wasn't victory. Not yet. But it was accountability. Real, uncomfortable accountability. The next morning, I checked my bank account. The child support payment had come through on time, in full, with an extra $200 for the costs I'd covered. No message. No explanation. Just the money. I stared at the screen for a long time, then texted Jason. Me, received. 2 more weeks, then we go back to normal custody. Jason, thank you. That afternoon, I got another text, this time from Lauren. Lauren, Jason told me what you said. I think you were right to make him wait. Me, he needed to understand what it actually costs. Lauren, he does now, and for what it's worth, I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I didn't realize he was using me as an excuse. Me, you're not responsible for his choices. Lauren, I know, but I feel like I should have asked more questions. Me, you're asking them now. That's what matters. A few seconds later, another message came through. Lauren, I never wanted the car, by the way. I told him that from the start. He doesn't listen sometimes. I smiled, just a little. I know the feeling. 2 weeks later, Milo came back to me full-time. When I picked him up from Jason's house in Roseville, he ran to the car with his backpack bouncing and his face bright. Mom, I missed you. I missed you too, baby, I said, wrapping him in a hug that lasted longer than usual. Jason stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, watching. He looked different. Tired, maybe, but also something else. Humbled. See you this weekend, I said, buckling Milo in. Yeah, Jason said. And Sid? I looked up. I'm sorry, for real this time. I nodded once. I know. As I pulled away from the curb, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Jason was still standing there, watching us drive away. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel anger when I looked at him. I felt something quieter, something like closure. Did he learn, or did he just want his comfort back? Drop your take, learned or comfort. Life didn't magically get easier after that. Jason still forgot things sometimes. Permission slips, early dismissal days, the occasional soccer practice. But now, when he messed up, he owned it. He apologized. He fixed it. He didn't try to make it my problem. And he never, ever brought up pausing child support again. 3 months after everything went back to normal, Milo asked me a question while we were making dinner together. Mom, why did I stay at Dad's house for so long that one time? I paused, knife hovering over the cutting board. I'd been waiting for this. Dad asked me to change our schedule for a little while, I said carefully, and I wanted him to understand how much work it takes to take care of you every day. Milo tilted his head. Did he get it? I smiled. Yeah, baby, I think he did. Good, Milo said, going back to stirring the pasta. Because you work really hard. My throat tightened, and I blinked fast to keep the tears back. Thank you for noticing. I always notice, he said, so matter of fact, it broke something open in my chest. I pulled him into a side hug and kissed the top of his head. You're the best thing I ever did, you know that? He grinned. I know. That weekend, Jason showed up on time for pickup. He handed me an envelope. Not the kind I'd given him, but a card. What's this? I asked. Just open it. Inside was a simple thank you card. The message was short. Thank you for not letting me get away with it. I needed to learn. Jason? I looked up at him, surprised. I mean it, he said. I was wrong, and you were right to call me on it. Okay, I said, because I didn't know what else to say. I'm trying to be better, he added. For Milo. And honestly, for me too. I can see that. He nodded, then glanced at Milo, who was grabbing his overnight bag from the living room. I know I can't undo the past 8 years, but I'm going to show up differently from now on. Good, I said, because that's all I've ever wanted. When they left, I stood in the doorway and watched the SUV pull away. The sun was setting over Sacramento, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, and for the first time in a long time, I felt light. Not because Jason had apologized, not because he'd finally paid what he owed, but because I'd set a boundary and held it. That night, I sat on my couch with a cup of tea and thought about everything that had happened. The phone call, the envelope, the weeks of chaos, the smear campaign, the apology. People ask me now if I regret it, if I think I went too far. And the answer is no. Because the revenge wasn't about making Jason suffer. It was about making him see. See the invisible labor. See the weight I carried. See that our son wasn't a line item he could negotiate when life got expensive. And he saw it. Not because I yelled, not because I took him to court, but because I handed him exactly what he asked for and made him live it. The lesson wasn't cruelty, it was consequence. And sometimes, that's the only language people understand. A few weeks later, Milo brought home a school project, a poster board titled My Hero. In the center, he'd drawn a picture of me. Underneath, in his careful second-grade handwriting, it said, "My mom works really hard and never gives up. She is my hero because she always shows up." I hung it on the fridge and cried for 10 minutes straight. Jason sent a picture of it later that night. Jason, "He showed me at pickup. You deserve that." Me, "So does he." Jason, "Yeah, he does." I stared at the messages for a moment, then put my phone down. It wasn't a perfect co-parenting relationship. It probably never would be. But it was better, healthier, built on respect instead of resentment. And that was enough. Milo asked me once if I was still mad at his dad. "No, baby," I told him. "I'm not mad anymore." "Good," he said, "because being mad is tired." I laughed, pulling him close. "You're right. Being mad is tired." And I wasn't tired anymore. I was free. If you made it to the end, you're real. Hit like and subscribe for more family revenge stories that prove boundaries aren't mean, they're necessary. And drop your final verdict. Was she petty or justified? And what would you have done differently? Tell me in the comments.